Hey, what's the difference between closed-ended questions and open-ended questions? Let's start with closed-ended questions first. And these are important to know if you're going to have conversations with people, maybe conversations that are difficult. These will bring those conversations into a much better framework if you can remember the difference between closed-ended questions and open-ended questions and which ones to use. The closed-ended questions are generally yes/no questions. They are questions like, hey, did you like the movie? Yes, no. Hey, did you like the speaker? Yes, no. Those don't invite any further thought, conversation. If you just ask a yes, no question, it leaves it hanging. What's really interesting about closed-ended questions is they're used a lot. They're used a lot. Sometimes people say, well, if you want to have a conversation, you just have to ask a lot of questions. So they ask a lot of yes, no questions. That begins to feel like an interrogation, doesn't it? I think so. But news hosts use yes, no questions. And they're often leading questions like, don't you think it would have been better if the senator said this? Don't you think it would have been a good idea if so-and-so said this? It's a yes-no question. The reason they ask those yes-no questions is they need to be able to control the narrative. They don't want that guest on their show to go off in a tangent that is not part of their agenda, that is not part of what their station promotes and supports. So you'll see it there. Look for it. Next time you watch a news show, watch them. They will ask yes-no questions, especially if it's somebody who's a controversial guest. Other people that use yes, no questions, closed-ended questions, are lawyers. Just answer the question, yes or no. They want to make sure that that their witness is not going to go off on a tangent that could be hazardous to their case. Yes, no. That's really important in law. It's important in newscasts. Look for it other places. You'll see open or closed-ended questions. You'll see closed-ended questions show up a lot because they don't require any afterthought. They don't invite conversation. So if there is no follow-up to a yes/no question, the conversation just stops. Open-ended questions, on the other hand, invite people to think about what they're feeling, to check in with what their thoughts are, to consider solutions, what their opinions might be, something that provokes a memory. Open-ended questions invite further conversation. So when we're talking about having conversations that matter, conversations that are difficult, we want to invite further conversation. So generally, open-ended questions are yes. Let's back up. Open-ended questions are things that ask what or how. Those are the two best open-ended questions. What did you think about the movie? How can we improve what we did on the project for next time? Where questions, who, when, those are also good. Why is a good one. Here's the thing, you have to be careful about a why question. Why questions might feel like they're accusatory. Why did you do that? Why were you there that night? So you have to be really careful how you use that. Why would you want to include that in our project? What makes you think that's going to help it work better? So you can use a why question as an open-ended question, but you might want to follow it up with a what or how. You can do that with when questions too. When did you start to notice that you were feeling different about your work? So they might say, well, last year around Christmas time. But if there's no follow-up, it doesn't help the conversation continue. When did you notice? What did it feel like? That takes the conversation further. What's another one here? Where were you when you first realized that you wanted to be a musician? Well, that might be a tough question too, unless you follow up with a how or a what question. Think about it. It's really important because here's what these questions allow the person you're talking to do. They allow them to dig deeper into what they think, what they feel, what matters to them, what's important. it helps them search their feelings, their strategies, their ideas, their emotions, their memories. And you know what else it does? It encourages them, it allows them to think about how much they're going to share with you based on how much they trust you. So if you ask a question that's going to have them dig deeper, one of the things they're trying to figure out is how much they trust you. Now, in a conversation, that could be really important. Conversation that matters. A difficult conversation could be one where if you asked a question and they didn't give you much in response, they might not trust you. Open-ended questions allow people to do that, to figure out. It can build trust because you're asking them about themselves or their ideas or their opinions. And when you listen to those, it allows them to trust you more. It allows you to create a connection with you. And when you have more trust and you create that connection, the conversation is going to be so much deeper, so much more fulfilling. Now, open-ended questions are great, and I use them all the time, and I encourage you to use them as well. The thing about open-ended questions is they take practice. They take practice. You aren't just going to all of a sudden do open-ended questions, but if you start thinking about it and you start practicing it, they'll come easier. In the meantime, you might think that there could be something easier to help you get a conversation going, get a conversation continuing, starting a conversation. It just so happens that there are 3 magic words, and I will tell you they are not abracadabra. No, tell me more. Tell me more is a really great way to get somebody without having to think too much about what's going on. It's a way for you to get the conversation going either in a direction that you feel is important or in a way to create connection and build trust. Tell me more about that. I think you can remember. It's pretty easy, right? It's pretty easy. Now, I was doing work with a group of nurses just to demonstrate this very technique. I had a nurse up. I said, so tell me about your favorite food. Well, I love pizza. Tell me more about that. I just love the flavors, the sauce, the cheese, the meats. Great, tell me more. Well, it was always homemade pizza by my mom on Saturday night, and we always looked forward to it. Tell me more about that. Well, then it became pizza and movie night, and then it became pizza and movie and game night, and then we could invite our friends. That conversation with her took less than a minute, but I learned from her, and so did the audience, that it wasn't just about the pizza or the flavors. It was about the memories attached to those, the movie night, the friend night, the game night. And then it became much more significant. Open-ended questions are going to invite more conversation. And when you invite conversation, you are going to create connections with other people. And when you create connections with other people, you are building trust. And when you build trust, you're creating an empathy-rich environment. Hey, I'm John Knepper. If you like this video, look for more in the future. We're going to be talking about having conversations that matter. We are going to be talking about how to have those conversations, including difficult conversations, in a way for you to create an empathy-rich environment filled with invitations for conversation. Hit the like button and the subscribe button. I'll see you next time.